Have you ever noticed that the harder you pull on something, the harder it seems to pull back? One of the most important lessons I've learned came from water skiing. For years, I thought surrender meant giving up. It doesn't. My first book, Heart Lessons, for free. All you got to do is download it. Link is in the comments, or you go to my website, kellyorchard.com, and just get it. So, this month, we are honoring 20 years since my heart failure journey began. And so, what I'm going to read to you right now is the excerpt on Lessons from Water Skiing, which is in the Lessons in Surrendering chapter of Heart Lessons. It was one of the first lessons that I learned. So here we go. What is it you feel you were meant to be? You do know what it is. I knew I wanted to be a dancer. I danced all my life. There were no television shows promoting dance when I was younger, like they do now. And dance wasn't competitive like it is today. As I got older, I had radio, and for the most part, I was having fun and making good money. But the option to dance professionally had disappeared. I neglected to build new dreams. The idea of becoming a broadcast executive was born from an industry that I had inherited from a family business. I didn't know any other field, but was it really my dream? My sick heart was the best, worst thing that ever happened to me. It caused me to build a new dream or reignite one that I'd been putting on a shelf for so long. Becoming a published author, a speaker, and a coach, helping others on their path of personal and professional development. It's vital for you to know what stirs your soul and then journey toward it. It might take a while, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be a race as long as you're working toward the goal. So let's talk about what I learned from lessons in water skiing. I learned to water ski when I was 16, and it has been a passion of mine for many years. I have taught and coached countless people how to water ski, and there's a phenomenon that occurs with just about every beginner water skier. Let me paint a picture. You're in the water, and you put on the skis. You've got the handle of the rope gripped tightly in your hands, and you're confident that this is the time you will rise to the top of the water and the boat will pull you along as you feel the thrill of achievement. And for about 30 seconds, that's exactly what happens. You say, hit it, and the boat begins to move. The rope tightens and then gently pulls you out of the water. You are skiing. You feel elated. You got up out of the water and you're now sailing along. But something happens and you begin to wobble. The wake isn't as steady as you imagined, and it's harder to keep your legs steady than you'd thought. Then some sort of wave hits your ski and knocks you off balance. Suddenly, you've lost your footing and you grip the rope handle even tighter as you begin to fall into the water. Your skis have now fallen off, your face is submerged, and the boat drags you along like a torpedo with water rushing up your nose as your body is beaten up by the harsh waters of the boat's wake. But something inside you says, if I just hold on, I'll get back up again. So the boat drags you for a good 30 more seconds. Meanwhile, your friends in the boat are yelling at you, but you can't hear them. You know what they're saying? Let go of the rope. Life is like that. In times of crisis, when it's clear that we're just in it, we grab hold of our resolve and struggle along, trying to get back on our feet or back on track, when the best and most peaceful approach is to surrender to the course. When you let go of the rope, you immediately free yourself from being beaten up by the drag, as well as the bouncing, the force of the fight, and the water shooting up your nose and into your throat. You stop drowning while you allow yourself to be dragged by a forceful pull. Your life vest buoys you in the water and you can breathe. Oh, sure, you're going to have to shake off the shock of what just happened, but you'll soon begin to feel the calm, the pause, the quiet, and you can think straight. You probably say out loud, what the hell was I thinking holding on so tight? Believe me, what you're holding on to right now isn't worth it. Once you make the choice to surrender to the event in your life that's dragging you along on a path that causes you anxiety, frustration, depression, when you let go and surrender, you'll be able to think more clearly. and you'll be able to really look at your circumstances, yourself, and all those people around you from an entirely new perspective. Remember not to confuse the meaning of letting go, surrendering, with giving up. To surrender means to relinquish control. Now, how did I connect this story to my heart failure? Well, not mechanically, right? But emotionally, what was I holding on to that I needed to let go of? And what did I need to kind of rediscover in order to follow my heart? So I had to let go of the career aspects that I thought I was going to have. I had to let go of the idea that this house was going to continue to be mine. I had to let go of anything that I thought my future was going to hold. And then I had to start rethinking, what am I going to do? So there is a difference between surrendering and quitting, because quitting would have meant that I gave up. And then what? But I surrendered to the course, and then I started a new path. So what does surrender say to you? Does it say I can accept reality, that this is no longer part of my life anymore and that I need to develop a new path? Are you able to grieve it appropriately and say goodbye and let it go? Because quitting says I give up. Surrendering says I don't give up. I'm just going to move on and I'm going to let this go now. And that could be a relationship. It could be an argument you're having. It could be a job that you've been fighting for that is just not meant to be. It could be that maybe you got fired, but you want to hang on to your career and your position, but maybe you need to think about a different industry, or maybe you need to think about a different community, a different city. And it's okay to let go of where you've been. You can let go of these expectations, the unrealistic ones. You can let go of the old identity that you try to carry, and you can let go of trying to control every outcome. That's where the awareness section of Badass comes in. It's the second A in Badass acronym, awareness. You can't change what you refuse to see. And we all have our blind spots, don't we? And then my heart crisis kind of revealed every blind spot that I had. I was in survival mode. I was raising 3 kids, trying to maintain my bills, trying to make sure everybody else around me was happy. Was I living my life dream? Not really. I wasn't unhappy. I wasn't miserable. My heart failure did cause me to slow down, pay attention, and be aware of what's going on. Heart failure forced that awareness for me. Awareness is information. It's amazing what happens when you start paying attention to your life rather than trying to control it. Now, you can control your emotions. You can control your reactions and responses. We get into that later in my program. But you got to start with awareness. Awareness is key. One of the things I recognized was my journaling. I started journaling at 15 years old, and it has carried me through my entire life. A lot of scenes, a lot of settings, a lot of characters. Also, the awareness of the emotions that I was feeling while I was going through that crisis. I'm big on recommending journaling. You write down what's going on with your thoughts and feelings and emotions. Even in a business setting, you're going to come up with the answers. You will, because it helps process what's in here. And once you see it, go down on a piece of paper and you see your thoughts in writing, there's a physiological response. Your brain says, okay, I understand now. I took some creative writing classes. I've been journaling for decades. In high school, I was an English major. So I had all those creative writing classes, American Lit, poetry, all sorts of stuff. And then all of it went into my journals. And that was where my characters started to take shape. So when you follow your heart, no matter how long it takes you to get there, keep going, stay the course, and be aware of your surroundings. It's always very helpful. I've always dreamed of being a novelist, but you can't chase your dreams. You've got to follow your dreams, because if you're chasing them, they're going to get away from you, right? So what does heart lessons have to do with the Courtyard at the Radio and Records Cafe? Well, pretty much everything. This was the catalyst that got me to start becoming a published author. And even though I wanted to be a novelist, the tools, the lessons, even the tasks, the technology involved in editing and publishing and book cover design have all taught me new skills that I didn't have before. And so the Courtyard connection is everything is all coming together, and I needed to find one place, because with my marketing and branding experiences with radio, and with my interest in psychology and my studies, and then my desire, my heart's desire to be a novelist, well, they all came together now, didn't they? And the RV travel just provided me the method with which to get myself isolated because I get distracted with all sorts of ideas, get me focused on writing the fiction that I wanted to write. I've paid attention. I have stayed aware. I'm using the tools that worked for me, and that's how Badass came about. Is that I created a really fun acronym and way to deliver the tools for you, so that you could become a licensed badass just like me. Why am I a licensed badass? That's another story. So now that I'm editing the frequency of trust, part of the editing process is surrendering the stuff that doesn't work. If it's not working, it's got to go. And even though I love those words and I might love that scene or I might love that paragraph, I have to let it go. I have to surrender the stuff that doesn't work. Or if it doesn't carry the story along, I have to realize, even though, but it's so integral to her emotions and how she's feeling, it doesn't move the story forward. So I'll have to just go read my journal about it. So here's what I want to know, since you've made it through this video this long. What are you holding on to so tightly that it may be preventing you from moving forward? So in closing, I'd love to invite you to download my very first work, Heart Lessons. It's available free from my website, and that'll get you on my email list, and I can send you my newsletter so you can have more information and updates about what I'm doing and when the Radio and Records Cafe trilogy starts to be published. And if you want to be an ARC reader, if you're on my list, you'll find out information. The entire month of July, I am honoring the heart issue, the failure that changed the direction of my entire career and my life. And even though it was the worst thing that ever happened to me, it was actually the best, worst thing that ever happened to me, because here I am with you now in the courtyard of the Radio and Records Cafe. Sometimes the breakthrough isn't found by holding on tighter. Sometimes it's found by letting go of the rope. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd appreciate if you'd like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might enjoy it too. And if you'd like to go deeper, I invite you to join me in the Courtyard on Substack. That's where I share the writing journey behind the Radio and Records Cafe trilogy, along with reflections on creativity, leadership, resilience, travel, and the stories that shape our lives. You'll find the link below, and I'd love to have you join us there.